we're all here, and if you're online, turn to page 635. And we're going to warm up. It's freezing out in every way. Emotionally. If you need more, Cornelius, gotta be louder. Sorry. Okay. 635. Shir Hamalot B'Shuv Adonai Et Shivat Tzivon Hayinu Bechomim. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
635 if you just joined us.
Shir Hamalot B'Shuv Adonai Et Shivat Tzion Hayinu Kehomim. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
And if I could be turned way down. Shabbat Shalom again. Oh, that's so much better. It is so wonderful to see so many of you, to see all of those who are here in our space, all of those who are in our virtual space, all 58 Zoom, at least boxes signed in, and 1.5 people per box on average. I think that's real. It really helps to fill our space here. And I just really appreciate everyone getting here, right? It is raining, it is gross out. It got dark at seemingly 2 o'clock today. And this week's Torah portion, that very first word of importance, Vayigash, the name of this week's Torah portion, means to approach. And Judah approached Joseph. Here we are approaching what comes next. It's most immediately the approaching of Shabbat. This evening, we're also going to celebrate the approaching of a wedding of Delphine and Jeremy and the naming of their daughter, Ava. But as there's a lot of traffic, we'll see in a minute. But we all also take this time to approach ourselves, to go deep within ourselves. Sometimes it might be the words on the page that help us to connect with ourselves. It might be the words in our heart. It might just be the sound of silence, that little bit of piano going as well. It helps each of us to approach. And so to help us approach the light of Shabbat and the sweetness of Shabbat, I get the pleasure of inviting up Elizabeth and Liz to help us light the Shabbat candles and to help us bless the Kiddush. So our Shabbat candle blessing can be found on page 120. atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Well, you could give them hugs, but they're going to join us over here to help us do Kiddush. So we get even more hugs as we're going to join in the words of the Kiddush on page 123. As is our custom, we rise in body or in spirit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei
Pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon hinkilanu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikrayei kodesh zecher l'tziyat Mitzrayim ki banu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen.
We may be seated. Thank you. Yasher Koach. And there are some very special guests. As we talk about approaching, I get to invite up a couple of people who I'm very excited to begin to approach their wedding, as is the custom in Judaism to have what is called an ofruf, coming from that old Yiddish word for before a wedding. So I get to invite up Delphine and Jeremy to join me on the bima with their daughter Ava. Hi, Ava. I love the matching. Ava, that dress is incredible. So you'll come on all the way up here. Now, this is incredibly special. The two of you, we're like getting really close to your parents' first date anniversary. And has Ava been to Zoo Lights yet? Yes. Or are you going to go in a couple weeks?
We will.
You will go in a couple weeks.
We've been before.
Because you go every year on your anniversary. And you two were married by the state, if you will, many moons ago. And I'm so excited that in about a little less than 48 hours, we're going to be standing here on this bima, celebrating your love and having a Jewish wedding, marrying you under the laws of Judaism and the customs of Judaism. And so we bring the three of you up because it is not only a blessing for the two of you to have an ofruf, to have a celebration in front of the community, but it also is a time when we get to celebrate Ava and bestow upon her her Hebrew name. It is an absolute honor because Ava, as I've heard from you, besides loving this toy, which is clearly a favorite, you are active and a lover of going and going and going and driving your parents just a little bit crazy, but they've got the energy for you. Is that right? Yeah. Because Ava, you didn't know this when you were born, but one of those things that really brought your parents together was the excitement of building a family together. They knew from early on that they wanted to have kids, they wanted to have a family, people that they got to teach and pass down the values that were passed down to them by their parents. And they love all of that, and they love you. And so, Ava, here on this bima, in this holy place, we get to announce for the very first time that you shall be known among the people Israel as Ahava. As Ahava means love, that you will be a lover of the world. You will be a lover of goodness, a lover of justice, a lover of expressing yourself for exactly who you are. To have that ahava, to have that love. I know you're going to have it because your parents share so much of it. And if they pass all that down to you, our world is in for quite a treat. And how incredibly perfect. I don't know if you could see the toy that Ava, also known in Hebrew as ahava, is in the shape of a heart, which is so incredibly perfect. So what we would do is normally we'd bless Ava with the priestly benediction, the threefold benediction for her naming. We bless the two of you. But how incredible that we get to bless the three of you together with the priestly blessing. So I'll invite Cantor Ben David up. As the Torah is opened, I'll ask us all to rise. So I'll ask you all to get close. As these words that we have been bestowing upon each other for 3,000 years, there's also the blessing that each of you received in those big milestone Jewish moments of your lives. This be the first time that Ava Ahava receives them, first of many times, as she will receive this blessing at her B'nai Mitzvah, if she is blessed to find someone under her chuppah, in the same way that you two will be blessed with this blessing under your chuppah in like 40 hours.
Ready? Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God show ahava, show love to you.
Yisha Adonai panav elecha v'yasev lecha shalom.
May you feel God's presence with you always, Ava and Delphine and Jeremy, in everything that you do, in the way that you grow your family, in the way that you show your love. And may that lead you to peace as we say, Amen. Amen. Mazel tov. We're so excited to celebrate you on Sunday.
So much.
Good job, Ava. We may be seated. So we're going to return to our prayer books to page 134 for a newer song, and I'm very excited about this. Zamru Ladonai.
Keep you guys alive. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Oh.
There it is. Oh, yeah.
Okay, turned on now. All right. Yes, this is our Kabbalat Shabbat. We need to warm ourselves, to work ourselves into Sabbath, even though the candles have already been lit. So on page 134 is Zamru Ladonai, one of those beautiful psalms that we sing, and we don't get to do this often, so let's indulge. Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor b'kol zimra, b'chatzot rod b'kol shofar. Hari lifnei HaMelech Adonai, Hiram hayamim lo, tevel v'yosheva, neharot imcha yachad, harim yiranenu. Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor b'kol zimra, b'chatzot rod b'kol shofar. Hari lifnei HaMelech Adonai, Hiram hayamim lo, tevel v'yosheva, neharot imcha yachad, harim yiranenu. Continue on 138. Let's officially welcome in our Sabbath bride. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat
nekabela. Shamor v'sachor b'dibor echad
Yishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'leila lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei
Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki makor haberacha berosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh v'machashavat tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kivaorech umiuri, uri, uri, shedaberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise to greet the Sabbath bride.
Oh, we v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bo'wi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We remain standing as we turn to page 146 for our Baruch Hu.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai,
lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Leolam
Leolam,
Leolam
Leolam,
Leolam
Leolam, Leolam, Vaed. We pray together in the English at the top of page 151, praying together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu
Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. We may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך
ובכל מאודיך והיו
הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך
היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 158.
We don't want that.
As we prepare for Mi Chamocha, a short poem. Bamidbar, in the desert, there was no 10 degrees cooler by the lake. Dipping your feet in, getting your legs wet, splashing around, holding your head above the water. Crowds of people there with me on the shore, staring over the lake, wondering what's on the other side. Could I walk to Michigan? Nah, that would be a miracle. Page 158.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh Nora Tehilot Osei Felet Nora Tehilot Osei Felet Malchutecha Ra'u
Banecha Bokeh לי,
זה לי,
אנו,
אנו,
ויאמרו,
ויאמרו,
אדוני,
אדוני,
ימלוך,
ימלוך,
לעולם,
לעולם,
ועד.
ועד. As we have crossed the sea, we have a moment to extol all that has come before us, that has led us to this moment, and looking forward the blessings that we wish. On page 164 and following on the even pages, we rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah.
ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chazdei Avot v'Imahot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד. מאיה הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה.
ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש
שמך קדוש, קדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני
האל הקדוש.
Hakadosh, holiness can be found in so many ways. It can be singing aloud with the community. Could also be found in the silence, whether it's the words in your heart, the words on the page, or simply that feeling of silence. You take a moment, and when you feel ready and when you feel done with your prayers and meditations, you may be seated.
יהיו לרצון אמרתי והיום Adonai Turi Vegoali. Now that you know it, join me on page 180 in the middle. Yehi Uleratso
Imrefi, Vehegyon libi, Lefanecha, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali. In the midst of our service, we think about those who are not fully able to be here, present 100%, whether it's here or somewhere else. That ability to be 100% present, 100% whole. The word shalom comes from wholeness, and we think about those who are seeking wholeness, whether it is wholeness of body, wholeness of spirit, wholeness of mind, who are working to feel better, to heal. And in a moment, we will read the names that have been submitted online. We will also ask if there are names here in our community which would like to be shared. If there are those, we'll hear them, I believe, first from our community here, and then I think we're still doing the Zoom ones as well. So if you have any names to add to our list of healing, I invite you to share them aloud. And I believe we'll be able to hear our friends on Zoom as well. If you would like to unmute and share a name, I invite you to do so as well. I know they're there. There's like 50 of them. They're there. Okay. Maybe we're having a little tech questions. We have names that have been submitted. We are thinking of, in need of healing, Chuck Abrams, Candy Roller, Lori Barish, Bart Barish, Howard Nagelberg, Deborah Siegel, Kimberly Ross, Cookie Marks, the people of Hawaii and elsewhere impacted by rain and flooding, Michael Bade, Janet, Jeanette Ponder, Nathan Lamp, Malu Rose, Nyoki Kamo, Fred Danhauser, Dan, Ann, Janine, Dennis, Kathy, and Ann, Gloria Wool, Natasha Stoller, Marion and Rick, Cindy Foltman, Barbara Allen, Greg Sessler, Marjorie Hillard, Eric Levin, Ruth Oppler, Alan Simons, Barry Ferris, Jonathan Spitz, Elaine Baddock, Javier Escalante, Sharon Schwartz, Rick Markow, Anna Kaplan, Cindy Weinzerl, Lael Lubling, Marion Kramer, Susan Levine, the Marshy Soto family, Jennifer Hunter, Tom Spriggs, Flo Bernberg, Carol O'Neill, Sherry Silver, Anna Sikorsky, Lori Dietz, Deborah Willage, Bob Beecher, Angelina and her family, Thelma Spill, Mark Gottschalf, Marcella Wilson and family, Luba and Costa Rasevsky, Justo Gonzalez Jr., Carlos Tabares, Daniel Weinzerl, Sarah Golub, Louise Chapman, Anthony Barnes, Mary Spriggs, Jim Hardy, Max Cohn, Leanne Edwards, Winifred Halsey, Joan Stockhoff, Hildy Leibowitz, Heidi Habs, and Gordon Campbell. We pray for their healing on page 371.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us,
Help us find the courage
to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
Amen. Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Yavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body,
renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. The first 3 nights of Hanukkah this year, I cranked open our window that faces the street. I shivered with the cold breeze that blew in. I reached out the window, and with the precision of a 7-month-old baby trying to pick up smushed banana, I tried to spin to the right or to the left. I think it's to the right. The next bulb on our blue and white electric Hanukkah that was out on our windowsill. Then, before we left for Florida for the rest of Hanukkah, because I was there to officiate my brother's wedding, I decided to just turn on the rest of the bulbs. So from the 4th night on, our Hanukkah had 8 lights shining. Upon arriving home, that blue and white glow was still emanating into our window. Despite Hanukkah having ended the day before, it was wonderful. I love that glow. I love that from the street you can see the bright glow of the light through that leafless branches that normally block the view. And just below our brightly white and blue shining windowsill on our downstairs neighbor, you can see a bright glow of the multicolored lights on our neighbor's Christmas tree in their window. We both have a son. Both our sons, they're 2 months apart. And I can just imagine my son Yair showing Everett how to light the Hanukkah candles, and then Yair going downstairs and Everett showing Yair how they decorate their tree. A thought that really brings a smile. So at sundown on Monday, we marked the end of Hanukkah. The mitzvah of publicly displaying the menorah, that was done. That was over. But I didn't want to take my menorah down. I mean, looking up and down our block, we could still see our neighbors have their Christmas decorations lit for a while before Christmas and often a couple days into the new year. So my menorah is still up. I'm not sure what I think about it, because those Christmas trees, they're still shining bright. Why am I keeping mine up? Am I just keeping the light on in some sort of twisted religious competition which none of my neighbors know about? Why couldn't I keep shining my light into the world past Hanukkah, or at least shining my light into our neighborhood. My worry is less about the Jews passing by and judgingly muttering to themselves, don't they know that Hanukkah is over? My worry is more internal. My worry is that I'm doing it because of Christmas or because of my non-Jewish neighbors. And in this week's Torah portion, Jacob is having a similar worry. His worry has a lot less to do with Hanukkah, less to do with electricity. There are less buildings, but he's still worried about the neighbors. By the way, Rachel or Ashley, I'm not sure who it was who laughed at that just not great joke, but I really appreciate you. Rabbi Jonathan Blake writes, in his old age, we learn in Parashat Vayigash, this week's portion, that Jacob, now called Israel, discovers that Joseph, his son, is in fact alive, and so he sets forth on a long overdue reunion in Egypt. As Jacob prepares for this journey, God addressed Israel, or Jacob, in a vision at night, saying, Jacob, Jacob, Hineni, here I am, your God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great people there. I, myself, your God, will go down with you to Egypt, and I will surely bring you up as well. And Joseph will lay his hands upon you once again. Why is God doing this? Why is God trying to calm Jacob's anxieties about going to Israel? Going down to Egypt, that is. I think we get a clue in the promise that I will surely bring you up as well. It seems that Jacob is worried that going down to Egypt might mean that his family, and thus the rest of the Jewish people, would be in Egypt indefinitely, or more so, that they would become Egyptian, or even become more Egyptian. We look to the modern commentator Nahama Leibowitz as she writes, Jacob was afraid that his seed would be absorbed into the Egyptian nation. Only in the land of Israel could the unique Jewish spark be preserved through the ages. Jacob's worried about the future of the Jewish people, his namesake, the Israelites. Rabbi Blake goes on, the specific components of these fears and hopes speaks to us in this season. This year, Parashat Vayigash is read right now between Hanukkah and Christmas. During this time, we have no choice but to confront the challenge of figuring out how to express our Judaism within the predominantly Christian American religious landscape. And the Hanukkah story, it spoke to the truth of assimilation under the Hellenistic, read Greek and pagan, rule. And interfaith families, you challenge the balancing of observing those Jewish identity and trying to figure out how it can be preserved while showing respect to non-Jewish family members. And this December dilemma is tough, especially for our newer Jews. It's especially tough because we don't really have practice in this dilemma any other time of year. It is much less common to think, do I go to Yom Kippur or the World Series? Like, not many people have dealt with that one. The way we make meaningful decisions about our Judaism is shaped by the world we live in. It's just how it is. And that world, the world, our society, it gets a vote. But so does our tradition. So does halakha, Jewish law. So does the meaning that we each add to our Judaism. Also, our family gets a vote. So does our comfort and ourselves. We get to be incredibly religiously Jewish on our own terms. And yeah, assimilation is a fear that is legitimate for Jacob and for now. But to fear that when it causes people, it's a fear that the fear is that when it causes people to be not Jewish, not less Jewish. I don't think you can be less or more Jewish. You are or you're not. Assimilation isn't becoming less Jewish. The fear is when people are not identifying that way. So I don't have an answer to my post-Hanukkah candle conundrum, but I do know that wrestling with it, figuring out all of the different votes that the different parts of my world have in how I do Jewish, wrestling with that, wrestling with those questions is the absolute best place to start. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, and we have some important announcements.
We also have microphones. A couple of exciting announcements. I'm going to do the first two here because I'm very excited.
They're really important.
So this is especially for those who are online and those who get our Temple Sholom emails. In a way, in an effort to keep our Misha Berach and our Kaddish list current, we're clearing the names each week following each week's services. So we'll be able to add names. I don't know if we had a long Misha Berach list today. And so to make sure that our list is as current as possible, it'll be cleared each and every week. So to just know that you can submit names for Misha Berach or for Kaddish throughout the week. Very exciting. This one I cannot stop plugging. This Sunday, part of our adult education series, we are hosting Rabbi Mike Moskowitz, who is going to be speaking on graceful masculinity. But this is by far not a program just for men. Mike Moskowitz is an incredible speaker. He is actually an ultra-Orthodox rabbi whose daughter came out to him during Passover as trans. And as an ultra-Orthodox rabbi, this set him back. But in his studies, he realized that Judaism is incredibly affirming to the whole LGBTQ spectrum. And this is what he has devoted his life towards. He is an incredible speaker on the topic of gender and positive manifestations of gender. And so I just highly recommend his talk on Sunday morning at 11, which is co-sponsored by Brotherhood and Or Chadash, our LGBTQ and allies group.
The next one's pretty fun. Rabbi Conover will be hosting another information session. If you're going to Israel, I am ridiculously jealous of this one. I will be in Maine, but honestly, I love Maine, but Israel trumps it big time, big time. So this is going to be something where there'll be hummus provided for those that register, and it will be via Zoom, and Rabbi Conover will guide you through the tour and the trip, and it should be really fun. So register. It's Tuesday, December 14th at 7 p.m. And then on Friday, December 17th, we have another Makom Shabbat.
We do. And that's for our 20s and 30s. Come join a Shabbat dinner hosted in the homes of fellow Makom community members. So small groups coming together over dinner throughout the city. You'll sign up and we'll match you with a Shabbat host. We're going to turn back in our prayer books to the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach as we rise in body or in spirit. Page 586.
Aleinu
Shabeach Ladon Hakol, Vateit Gula Leotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kiyei Haratzot.
ולא שמענו במשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
As we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish Tome, which will be on page 598, this Shabbat, our Temple Sholom community is thinking about those who are observing Shloshim, those who have passed away in the last month. Richard Samuels, Carrie Bade, Ida Eyring Lessman, Geraldine Templin, Raymond Gork, Ron Sackheim, and Helene Marks. And those whose yahrzeits are observed in this week now ending: Sharon Deutsch, Sam Frankel, Jerome Greenbaum, Harold Zussel, Harry Washam, Walter J. Fischel, William Wolfe, Leah Freilich, Beverly Wolin, Samuel Davis, Edward Bell, Edward Rothman, Harry Brickman Sr., Jack Schneider, Reva Lewis, Joan Grossman, Sidel Bekil Schifrin, Harriet Molstein, Jerry Stein, Stanley Ryback, Marvin Kurjan, David Belsky, Donald Silverberg, Thelma Bloomberg, Sarita Barter, Robert Lipsig, Murray Leslie Kite, Charles Sticks, Rita Ranke, and Gloria K. Brisman. And those names that have, that have been added to our list online: Howard Vihan and Sandra Goyenshore, Dennis Tosi, Lige Fletter, Greg Tate, Steve Bronsky, Michael Nesmith, David Gantz, Doris Gantz, Jenny Mancini, Daniel Greenberg, Juliana Schaefer, Karen Stein, Sherry Kamiko Goodman, Senator Robert J. Dole, Bruce Kaplan, Seema Schifrin, Sherry Warden, and the yahrzeit of John Lennon. Do we have any names here that we would like to add to our list of memory? It's for them, and because of them, we extol God's name, page 598.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא דיברה
Ashirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon v'yomechon, v'chaye doho beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yesh merabba mevarach l'olam u'amei amaya, yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yidromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu, le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nehemata, Tamiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Lama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Shalom imramav, huya se shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen.
Shalom aleinu. ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We may be seated. Before we do, I want to just announce that right after services, we have two ways to gather. If you are joining us on Zoom, I'm going to rush into our sound room so I could say hello and we could have a little post-Shabbat schmooze. And for those here on site, we are having quote-unquote oneg. So our oneg
It's like a to-go oneg. We're not eating during.
Correct. But pre-pandemic, of course, was we'd join in Bettyport Hall and we would have snacks and schmooze. But for the time being, we're going to still have the opportunity to head into Bettyport Hall afterwards and schmooze together without food and masks still up, but still that beautiful opportunity to build community together. And talking about building community and doing so with holiness, we're turning to page 626.
We are, this evening, I like to dabble in all things alternative and traditional. It's fun. You should try it. So on page 626, we're going totally traditional tonight. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu,
Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Emoshienu. Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu
Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'll see you next door. He'll see you online.